Hey everybody, Yogi here. Hope you're all doing well. I'm doing well. Today, I'm on the outskirts of West Bend in what is known to be as Cedar Creek Cemetery. Now, there's a couple of interesting things about this cemetery. There's a Civil War veteran buried here. I believe a senator. I might not be right on that, but I'll have to check and make sure. And it's a very small cemetery, but it was a cemetery that was kind of neglected for like 125 years. It was so overgrown, people didn't at one point even know a cemetery existed here. But it's been cleaned up, and it looks really, really nice. And kudos to the Boy Scouts who clean this up every spring and fall. They take care of the property. And there's also a book that I found at the library. I've been fascinated with this particular cemetery for a while. One day I was going through the local section of the book, the library in West Bend, and saw that there was a book on this particular cemetery. And I thought, that's kind of weird. Who would write a book on a cemetery? Well, it turned out the gentleman's name was Milton Maxon, and he kind of chronicalized who's buried here, their importance, if any, and it was about 45 pages long or so. I've looked for this book on numerous other sites like Amazon to see if it's printed on there. I did not see. I think the only copies that exist, other than maybe UW in the history department, UW-Madison, or the Historical Society in Madison, and possibly the Historical Society in Washington County, would be the copies that I saw at the library. So I took this copy out. This is probably 20 years ago or so. So I took a copy of it out, and I was going through it, and ever since then I've been fascinated with this cemetery. I mean, it's a really small cemetery. I'm going to pan around and show you what it looks like. Cedar Creek Cemetery was established on a parcel of land owned by Horace Hanner in 1853. The earliest stone, that of George Toll, is dated 1846. The cemetery contains most of the original settlers of Cedar Creek, then known as Maxonville. There's also a little bit of paranormal involved in this cemetery. I was an aspiring filmmaker looking to make a horror movie, and I thought this would be a good place to shoot a graveyard scene because it's an older graveyard. It's a small graveyard. It's not in the town, so it would be kind of creepier looking, you know what I mean? So over here, let's show you where that was. Now, I was kind of panning. A friend of mine, Alex, we were friends. I don't know what's happened to him since, but we were panning and doing a shot here, right along this wall, this fencing here. And there used to be, I just saw a bench. I think that bench right there was actually placed along the side here at one time. Now, when I was doing this pan and zoom shot, we were filming and there was nothing here. I mean, the fence was here, but the kids weren't. It was just a fence. And then when we went back and looked at the video, there were kids there by the bench. And both of us saw the same thing. And I would love, there was nobody at this cemetery at the time we were filming. There's a tape of it somewhere. I've looked at all my VHS tapes. I've tried to find this particular tape. I don't know if my friend Alex might have held on to it, and it's been lost because I don't talk to him anymore. I haven't seen the guy in probably 15 years. We took a shot over here. There was nobody in the cemetery. And then when we played it back, there were two kids sitting on the bench. So that happened here at the cemetery. Now, there's also another part of this cemetery that has kind of a paranormal twist to it. Apparently, a witch is buried here. Now, I know, a witch. Witches are supposed to have a marking on their gravestone letting you know that they're a witch. And should this particular marking rub off or disappear, rumor has it that this witch or person will be able to come back and do all sorts of shenanigans and tomfoolery. We came out with another paranormal group called WAPS. Al Gee and Dan Cartwright. Dan actually runs the Haunted Warriors Asylum. I interviewed Dan for the Warriors Haunted Asylum haunted house. So if you want to go take a look at that video, that's back October of last year, 2020. We did a day tour and then we did a night tour of the haunted house. Pretty cool. I mean, Dan's got a good thing going there. The only thing with where he is the location. His location of that haunted house is really rural, but it's a really cool haunted house. So anyways, we came out with them and we stopped at this cemetery here, and they proceeded to tell us a story about a witch that supposedly is buried here. And we were kind of looking at all the gravestones, and we're never able to find anything that had like a marking of a witch, you know, anything kind of rubbing off or anything like that. For almost a century and a quarter, this place was like abandoned, covered. You couldn't even tell that it was a cemetery driving from the side of the road. So they finally cleaned it up, and you know, it looks beautiful. I mean, again, kudos to the Boy Scouts. They do a tremendous job every year. And special shout outs, kudos to Milton Maxon, who took the time and wrote the book. And you know, it's a part of history now. People know who's buried here for the most part. There are some unmarked graves here. I believe there's like 10 or so. But it just goes to show that some people, cemeteries are important. You know, you kind of forget about them after people pass away. You kind of visit, and then it kind of like fades off. You know, you kind of stop visiting your deceased loved ones, and they kind of become forgotten about, except for Memorial Day. You know, a lot of people come out on Memorial Day and clean around the graves and stuff like that. He did a tremendous job of cleaning this place up, bringing it back to life, and basically he just kept the history of the cemetery alive. Unfortunately, you know, I really wish I could have gotten a hold of that book before doing this episode. Maybe I'll come back to doing this place again, but I don't have a library card right now, and it's a Sunday, so I don't have the, it was just kind of on a whim. I was road tripping, I was driving around, and I thought, yeah, this would be a good place to kind of check out and do a little episode of. So, I mean, let's kind of walk around, check out what's here in the cemetery. Now this is interesting. It's got multiple names. Doesn't really say anything else about them. I don't know if this is people who had something to do with keeping the place. Yeah, I don't know. That's weird. And this one here too, it just has a name. So I wonder why there's just names on these two graves. If anybody knows why there's just names on these graves and nothing else, comment below. I'm very interested to know why. Junkers. Frederick W, I think it says. I don't want to move all the stuff out of the way. The thing that's nice about this particular cemetery, for it being rural, is that people don't come out here. They don't, like a Bachelor's Grove out in Midlothian, Illinois, they don't vandalize it here. They don't knock gravestones over. And again, people, if you go to cemeteries, even if you're going to do paranormal stuff, please be respectful. This is a place where people rest in peace, and the last thing they need is people tipping over gravestones and just being really stupid. So don't do it. Just don't do it. Be respectful. Here's a lady who passed, well, the last couple years. Oh, wow. She was pretty young. 38. And we got a World War II veteran. Thank you for your service. My father was also a World War II veteran. He has since passed. Do not stand at our grave and weep. We are not there. We do not sleep. We are 1,000 winds that blow. We are the diamond glints on snow. We are the sunlight on ripened grain. We are the gentle autumn rain. When you wake in the morning, hush. We are the swift uplifting rush of quiet birds in circling flight. We are the soft starlight at night. We do not stand at our graves and weep. We are not there. We do not sleep. It says the merchants, swordsmen, magicians, archers. Here's the merchant. A couple of them passed pretty early. This one has a bunch of maxims on it. It says Forest Home. I wonder if that's where they were initially buried, at Forest Home Cemetery in Milwaukee. Now these two here, these two folks passed in a plane crash in the Houston, Texas area. I think I remember reading that in that book. But I see that they both passed away on the same day, so I'm thinking that's the couple that passed in that plane crash. There's Milton right here. Here's Milton J. Maxon, the gentleman who wrote the book, A History of the Cedar Creek Cemetery. Thank you, Milton, for keeping the cemetery alive and all the work you did to put that book together. So yeah, these are all the Maxons here. And the biggest headstone here is Densmore W. Maxon. Densmore William Maxon, born in Verona, Oneida County, New York in 1820. He moved to Wisconsin in 1843 and first settled at Milwaukee, moved to Cedar Creek in 1846. Maxon was town chairman of Polk from 1846 to 1859. He was first elected a member of the Assembly in June 1848 and again in 1852, was senator in 1858 to 1861, was a candidate for lieutenant governor of Wisconsin in 1865. In May of 1868, Maxon was appointed by President Andrew Johnson as a member of the Board of Visitors to attend the annual examination of the U.S. Military Academy at West Point. He died in 1887 in Santa Cruz, California. I wonder if anybody who was involved in the George DeBar hanging is laid to rest here. I mean, it's possible. I did do a the hanging of George DeBar episode. Kind of took some flack for it online, some comments, you know, why are you doing this, what horrible timing. I did it last summer in like June. It's history, that's why I did it. It's something that has fascinated me, so I wanted to kind of put my own spin on that whole event that happened back in the 60s, 1850s. It's been a while. You can also see that episode. It's the lynching of George DeBar. Came out like June of 2020 on my channel, so if you want to check that out. It's not for the faint of heart. There's some pretty grotesque things that happened, but I kind of go to all the locations where things had taken place and just kind of walk you through the timeline. Kind of makes you think a little bit about life in general, you know. Now that's sad. 2 days old. You know, we aren't thankful enough for what we have. It's too bad, you know. We should be thankful for all the things that we have. And it's just such a unbelievably crazy time in this country right now. You know, 20 years ago it was 9/11. Well, coming up on 9/11. And our country seemed to come together in that time. 20 years later, we couldn't be more divided, more hateful. And here are some very old stones that have these have fallen apart. I don't know if it's due to vandalism or just time. That's when I can read. Oh, the Ricks. Okay. 1869. Here's a broken one. Again, don't know if it was vandalism or just time. I hope it was the latter. There's another one that's broken off right there. This one's a, geez, there's a tree growing right out of it here. Starting to uproot. The roots are kind of taking over this one here as well. Well, folks, that's going to do it for this edition of Road Trips with Yogi. Kind of a somber episode, but makes you think a little bit, right? If you like my videos, please share them. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And don't forget, I'm also on patreon.com, www.patreon.com/Road Trips with Yogi. You can go check out that site as well if you would like to help support my channel by making a small donation. This is Cedar Creek Cemetery. And thanks again for watching. And until the next road trip, I am Yogi, and I am out of here.